You've been talking to him, texting him, maybe even spending nights with him, but deep down, something feels off. He says all the right things. He's charming, sweet, even vulnerable, but when it comes to actually moving the relationship forward, nothing changes. And yet you're stuck in that space between hope and doubt, wondering if you're overthinking it or if you're just not enough. Let me be clear, when a man isn't serious about you, he'll tell you, not always with his actions, but with his words. And if you know what to listen for, you can save yourself from wasting months or even years in the wrong story. In this video, I'm going to break down 6 specific things men say when they're not serious, so you can stop chasing clarity and start reclaiming your power. If you've ever felt stuck waiting for a man to finally mean it, this one's for you. When a man says, "I'm just focusing on myself right now," it can sound mature, respectful, even admirable. After all, who doesn't want a partner who's self-aware enough to work on his goals, his health, or his emotional well-being? But when that phrase is used in the context of avoiding deeper connection with you, it becomes something else entirely. A shield, a buffer, a polite way of keeping you close enough to not lose your attention, but far enough to avoid commitment. And too many women fall into the trap of giving endless patience to a man who's hiding behind personal growth. Here's what's really happening. He likes you. He enjoys the conversations, the chemistry, the connection. You make his life better, but he's not willing to be better for you. When someone says they're focusing on themselves, the immediate follow-up question you should ask to yourself, not him, is, am I being asked to wait for this person to be ready? Because if the answer is yes, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in a holding pattern. You're pausing your emotional needs and desires in the hope that one day he'll transform into the man you deserve. But growth doesn't require emotional detachment from someone you value. In fact, some of the most powerful growth happens inside a relationship when two people are willing to evolve together. A man who is truly interested in you and committed to his own development doesn't separate the two. He says, "I'm working on myself and I'd love to have you beside me while I do it." Not, "I'm working on myself, so don't expect anything from me while I enjoy the perks of your presence." If you're consistently being put in the position where your feelings, your boundaries, and your future are on pause while he focuses on himself, understand this: you're not a partner in his journey. You're a convenience. He wants your energy, your time, and your emotional availability, but he doesn't want the responsibility that comes with meeting you halfway. That's not self-focus. That's selfishness dressed up in self-help language. What's worse is that many women, especially empathetic ones, will interpret his words through a lens of compassion. They'll think, he's been hurt before, he's just trying to be better. And while that might be true, the mistake is believing that his healing requires your sacrifice. It doesn't. You can support someone's growth without abandoning your own standards. You can respect his path while also recognizing that your needs are not optional. You don't need to shrink just because someone else is in the process of stretching. And let's not forget, if you're with a man who constantly uses "I'm focusing on myself" to excuse inconsistency, emotional unavailability, or lack of effort, it's not about healing. It's about keeping options open. Because the man who truly wants you will still call, will still plan, will still show up, even while he's working on himself. Growth doesn't require disappearing from someone's life. It doesn't require confusion. It doesn't come with mixed signals. When a man is genuinely focused and intentional, he communicates it with clarity, not vague promises. So the next time you hear those words, "I'm just focusing on myself right now," ask yourself this: is this man building a life that includes me? Or am I just a comforting presence while he figures out who he really wants? You deserve someone who grows with you, not away from you. When a man says, "You're everything I want," but the timing's off, it's easy to feel a cocktail of hope and heartbreak. Those words sound romantic, almost poetic, as if you're the one who got away before he could catch up to who he wants to be. It makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, the universe is playing a cruel game. And in that emotional haze, you start holding on to the idea that once his life settles, or once he gets clarity, or once the stars align, he'll come running back ready to love you the way you deserve. But the truth is, more often than not, that line is a gentle rejection disguised as depth. It gives him the chance to keep your heart close without taking real responsibility for it. By blaming timing, he avoids accountability. He doesn't have to tell you that he doesn't want the same things as you. He doesn't have to admit that he's not serious about a future with you. Instead, he paints himself as a victim of circumstance, a man who met the right woman at the wrong time, and because it sounds noble, many women accept it. They wait, they compromise, they hope. But when someone genuinely sees you as everything they want, timing isn't the issue. Action is. When you're serious about something, you make room for it, you adjust, you prioritize. Life is always full of reasons not to commit. Work stress, past wounds, personal goals. But people who truly want love don't treat it like an accessory for later. They know that real connection doesn't come around every day, and they don't risk losing it for the illusion of perfect timing. A man who tells you that you're everything he wants but that the timing is wrong is essentially saying, I want the benefits of emotionally connecting with you without being emotionally available to you. He wants to hold on to the safety net of your love without stepping into the discomfort of full vulnerability. Because commitment, despite what people romanticize, isn't always about candles and fireworks. It's about consistency. It's about showing up even when life isn't easy. It's about choosing each other in the midst of chaos, not in the absence of it. What makes this line even more dangerous is how it messes with your self-worth. You start questioning whether you were too demanding. You think maybe if you were more patient, more flexible, more understanding, he would have stayed. But that's the trap. You weren't the problem. The real problem is that he wants to enjoy the emotional connection without taking on the emotional responsibility. And so he packages his reluctance in a way that keeps you on the hook, emotionally tethered to something that has no real foundation. Sometimes the wrong time excuse is just a softer way of saying, you're not the one I want to commit to right now. And if that's the case, believe him. Because even if he does circle back months or years later, it often comes with the same confusion, the same emotional distance, just wrapped in new words. The healthiest move you can make is not to wait. Don't hold your breath for someone who's holding back. Love doesn't always arrive perfectly wrapped, but it does arrive with clarity. It shows up, it leans in, and it doesn't keep you wondering whether or not you're worth the effort. You don't need to audition for love. You don't need to earn someone's readiness. You are not a placeholder until life feels convenient. You are someone to be chosen, fully and completely, not someday, but now. When a man tells you, I'm just going with the flow, it might seem casual, even refreshing at first. In a dating culture full of pressure, expectations, and timelines, hearing someone say they want to take things slow can feel like a breath of fresh air. But there's a critical distinction between moving at a natural pace and using the flow as a way to avoid intention. That phrase, as harmless as it sounds, often masks a lack of clarity, or worse, a lack of investment. The danger of this line is that it puts you in a passive position. You stop asking questions. You stop checking in with your own needs. You stop seeking clarity about where the relationship is going, because the flow becomes the excuse for not talking about the future at all. And when you care about someone, it's easy to convince yourself that being low pressure makes you more attractive, more agreeable, or more chill. But relationships aren't about who can care the least. They're about mutual commitment, even in the early stages. A man who is serious about you doesn't want to leave your connection up to chance. He doesn't want to drift into ambiguity. He wants to co-create something intentional with you, not just ride a current that may or may not lead anywhere. When a man uses go with the flow as his go-to phrase, he's telling you, without directly telling you, that he's not actively choosing this. He's present for the fun, for the comfort, for the emotional companionship, but he's not taking ownership of the direction. That means you're in the relationship, but you're also alone in steering it. And here's what often happens. You start shaping yourself around that flow. You stop bringing up how you feel. You stop expressing your needs. You wait for him to define things. You let his pace become the default, even when it's slower, unclear, or stagnant. Eventually, you find yourself months deep into something that has no name, no commitment, and no clear future. And still, because you've emotionally invested, you keep hoping that the flow will take you somewhere solid, that he'll wake up one day and decide you're the person he wants to fully pursue. But here's the truth. Go with the flow often benefits only one person. the one who doesn't want to be held accountable. It creates an illusion of connection while protecting him from having to be clear about what he wants. It allows him to enjoy you without the responsibility of committing to you, and over time, that leaves you feeling emotionally starved. You're giving and hoping and showing up while he floats through the relationship without anchoring it in real intention. This is why it's important to listen to what's underneath his words. If he can't articulate what he wants, if he avoids conversations about the future, if he consistently dodges definition under the guise of keeping things easy, then he's not uncertain, he's uncommitted. And while there's nothing wrong with a slow pace, there's a big difference between slow and vague. Someone moving slowly is still moving with you. Someone avoiding commitment is just drifting while you do the emotional labor. Your needs are not too much. Your desire for clarity is not pressure, and your ability to ask, "Where is this going?" is not something to feel guilty about. The right man will want to co-create a path with you, not keep you guessing about where you stand. You're not here to float aimlessly in someone else's life. You're here to be chosen with certainty. When a man tells you, "I'm not ready for a relationship," it can feel like a punch wrapped in softness. The delivery may seem honest, even vulnerable, but underneath that statement is a clear message. He's telling you he's not going to give you what you want. The danger comes not from the words themselves, but from how many women choose to hear them. Because when you're emotionally invested, you don't always interpret what's being said at face value. Instead, you start filling in the blanks with hope. You think he's just been hurt before, or maybe he just needs time, or if I can show him how real this is, maybe he'll change his mind. And that's where the trap lies. "I'm not ready" becomes a loophole that allows him to enjoy everything about you, your love, your care, your companionship, without committing to anything long-term. He gets the emotional intimacy, the physical connection, and even the loyalty, all while maintaining the safety of a statement that frees him from responsibility. You, on the other hand, begin to contort yourself. You wait. You settle for the moments he gives you. You downplay your needs so you don't come across as demanding. And all the while, a quiet anxiety grows inside you because deep down, you know you want something more, but you're afraid to risk losing him by asking for it. But here's the truth. When someone tells you they're not ready for a relationship, believe them. Not because they'll never be ready, but because right now they are not choosing to be ready with you. That's not a reflection of your worth, your value, or how lovable you are. It's simply a sign of where they are emotionally, and often a preview of what they're willing or unwilling to give. When a man is ready, he won't need convincing. He won't speak in riddles. He won't place the weight of waiting on your shoulders while he figures himself out. The problem is, many women hear, "I'm not ready," and internalize it as a challenge. They think, if I'm patient enough, if I prove how loyal I am, if I keep showing up, he'll eventually realize I'm the one. But that mindset doesn't lead to love. It leads to emotional depletion. You give more and more in the hopes that he'll meet you halfway, but he doesn't. Not because he's evil or manipulative, but because he already told you he's not ready. And deep down, he likely knows you want more, which makes it even easier for him to keep the situation convenient for himself. He's not misleading you. He's watching you stay, despite the warning sign he posted on day one. It's not your job to be the exception. It's not your role to prove you're worthy of love that someone isn't prepared to give. Your love should not have to survive a waiting game. The longer you stay with someone who isn't ready, the longer you delay meeting someone who is. And the more you accept crumbs, the more you convince yourself that you should be grateful for less than what you truly desire. You don't need to fix him. You don't need to wait for him. What you need is to take his words seriously and value your time and emotional energy enough to move forward. Love isn't about chasing or convincing. It's about clarity and alignment. The right person will be ready not just for a relationship, but for one with you, exactly as you are. When a man says, "Let's just see where this goes," it can feel like openness, like possibility, like a man who isn't rushing into things and is willing to take his time. In the early stages of dating, that kind of attitude might sound healthy and mature. After all, no one wants to force a relationship before it's time. But what seems like a thoughtful statement can sometimes mask a much deeper problem, a lack of intention. This phrase often keeps women emotionally invested without giving them anything solid to hold on to. It keeps the connection vague, uncommitted, and undefined. You find yourself trying to interpret every interaction, wondering whether you're moving forward or standing still. You end up pouring energy into something that feels like a relationship but isn't one, in name or reality. It's emotionally confusing because on one hand, he's not rejecting you, he's spending time with you, texting you, sleeping with you, even introducing you to people in his life. But on the other hand, he's avoiding clarity. And that avoidance keeps you trapped in limbo. The phrase, "let's see where this goes," often means, "I enjoy your presence, but I'm not sure I want to take this any further. I'll keep this going for as long as it benefits me or feels good, and I'll decide later if I want more." It's a subtle form of control. By refusing to define things, he keeps all his options open while you slowly close off yours. You stop dating other people. You start investing more emotionally. You become more attached, hoping that your patience and loyalty will lead to something deeper. But what's really happening is that you're committing to someone who hasn't truly committed to you. This lack of commitment can be incredibly damaging to your self-worth, because as time goes on, you start feeling like maybe the reason things aren't moving forward is something you're doing wrong. Maybe you're not interesting enough. Maybe if you were more attractive, more fun, less needy, he'd want to lock things down. But the truth is, a man who is truly interested and ready for something real doesn't hide behind vague language. He doesn't leave you guessing. He wants you to feel secure, valued, and certain about where you stand. When a man is serious, "let's see where this goes," turns into, "I want to be with you, and I'm not afraid to say it." The problem is that "let's see where this goes" is easy. It doesn't require risk. It doesn't require vulnerability. It doesn't require effort. It allows a man to benefit from a pseudo-relationship without doing the hard emotional work of real intimacy. And while he may not be doing this with malicious intent, the impact on you is the same. You're stuck in a half relationship that never evolves, constantly hoping for more while being told to just enjoy the moment. But your heart is not casual. Your time is not disposable. You're not here to be someone's temporary comfort while they figure themselves out. You deserve a connection built on clarity, not confusion, on purpose, not passivity. If someone can't give you that, no matter how much you enjoy their company, it's a red flag. Not because they're a bad person, but because they're not ready to meet you at the level you deserve. It takes courage to walk away from something that feels almost right, but almost will never become everything when the other person isn't choosing you fully. You are allowed to want more than a maybe. You are allowed to ask where something is going and expect an honest answer. And if someone responds with, "let's just see," you have every right to say, "No, I want to know." When a man says, "I'm just enjoying being single right now," it often sounds like a casual, carefree declaration. It implies that he's in a space of freedom and self-discovery, focusing on himself, maybe healing from a past relationship, or simply not looking for anything serious. To some, this might sound honest and respectable, and it can be, but it's also a phrase that can be used to mask the real truth. He's not interested in being serious with you. He may genuinely enjoy your company, share laughs with you, and feel physically attracted to you, but at the end of the day, he's not willing to step up emotionally or commit. The danger in this phrase is how it can lull someone into waiting. A woman might hear it and think, "he's just not ready now, but maybe with time he'll want something more." That hope becomes a trap. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and during that time she continues giving, showing up, and proving her loyalty, all while he maintains the comfort of his freedom and the benefits of a connection that asks nothing more of him. When a man says he's enjoying being single, he's drawing a clear line in the sand. He's telling you that he's not looking for depth or commitment, even if his actions sometimes seem to suggest otherwise. He might still want to see you, flirt with you, sleep with you, and share pieces of his life. That's where things get confusing. You think, why would he invest this much time and energy if he doesn't want something real? But that investment isn't a promise, it's convenience. He's meeting his needs for companionship and intimacy without stepping into the vulnerability that real commitment requires. The issue isn't that he's choosing to be single. Everyone has the right to that choice. The issue is when he allows someone else to emotionally invest in him while never intending to reciprocate in a meaningful way. And because there's no outright rejection, it becomes harder to walk away. He's not saying, I don't like you. He's saying, I'm just not ready. That soft delivery makes it easier for you to stay, to wait, to compromise, all in the name of being understanding. But what needs to be understood is this: if a man is truly into you and truly sees a future with you, he won't let the label of single stand in the way of that. He won't use it as a shield to protect himself from connection. He will show up with intention. Men don't fear relationships. They fear the wrong relationship. So if a man sees you as the right woman, single will stop being a status and start becoming something he's ready to change. Staying with someone who enjoys being single while you crave a relationship forces you to dim your needs. You start suppressing your desire for more because you're afraid of scaring him off. You act unbothered, go with the flow, play it cool, all in the hopes that he'll see how easy you are to be with and eventually want something more. But the reality is that someone who is not choosing you now is unlikely to wake up one day and suddenly become ready just because you waited long enough. You don't need to be easy to be with. You need to be honored, cherished, and chosen. And that doesn't happen in situations where the other person is casually enjoying their freedom while you quietly hold space for something deeper. A man who wants a future with you won't hide behind phrases like this. He'll be ready to step forward. Until then, the most powerful thing you can do is believe what he says and believe in your worth enough to walk away. When you stop accepting confusion as a placeholder for clarity, everything changes. You begin to see that love doesn't hide behind vague promises or half efforts. It shows up with certainty, consistency, and intention. The more you value yourself, the less tolerance you have for words that keep you waiting and hoping. You don't need to chase, convince, or shrink to be chosen. The right person won't leave you wondering. So trust your instincts, listen to what his actions are truly telling you, and never settle for someone who only wants you halfway. Let go of anything that doesn't honor your worth and watch what shows up in its place.